On today's Hot Sheet, I'm discussing housing inventory, consumer support for new construction, and ATTOM's latest home flipping report. Today is Monday, September 25th, 2023. I am Byron Lazine, and the Hot Sheet starts now. All right, if you're with me here live on this Monday morning, let me know in the live chat which market you are tuning in from. And if you want the most out of our content at BAM, make sure you're a BAM X member. Use code HOT to get 10% off. It's where we have our best of everything that we do, including the daily downloads of the Hot Sheet. I think today there are 11 daily download slides for this show. We do that every single day. Use code HOT to get 10% off of BAM X. And as we do every Monday, let's jump right into our update on inventory. Inventory has been not the only thing holding the market back, but it is a main driver. We do have pent-up buyer demand, of course, along with the worst affordability market that we've ever seen. I think that would be a bigger factor. But inventory continues to keep prices elevated while that unaffordability remains high. All right. So last week we saw mortgage rates get close to the yearly high of 7.49. In fact, on Thursday, they were 7.47. The 10-year is jumping off the page today. We're going to get into that a little bit later. So rates are going to be higher for longer. Do not anticipate coming on a hot sheet, at any point this week or any point in the near future, and there be some big rush of good news that we're going to see a 6 handle on the 30-year fixed. It's just not coming. So how is the inventory reacting to that? Let's first take a look at new listings, because new listings have been the lowest ever recorded. So this is different than active listings and active inventory. This is new listings just for the week across the country, according to ATTOM research. New listings for this past week, 59,000. Last week was 61,000. So we're starting to see a little bit of a jump from where we've been the last couple of months, okay, for new listings. That's good. Now, this is still below 2022 as well as 2021 for new sellers, but it's seasonably higher than what we've seen in the summer, which is interesting because usually you will have whatever you had in the summer, you would have a drop at this point, just like in 21 and 22. Even though it was higher than this year, it was a drop off from the preceding months, where we're seeing an actual slight increase on new listings. So is this going to be a trend that continues throughout the fall? We can certainly hope so. I'd love to know what your thoughts are in the comments. And it's positive news that we're seeing that. More positive news would be that active listings grew 9,312. This is not the level any of us want, but it's certainly greater than what we've seen at other points in the year. Okay, we'd like to see something north of 10,000 plus, even 15,000 plus right now. But we're not talking about 3 or 4 or 5,000, which is what they experienced in the same week last year. So according to ATTOM research, inventory rose from 518,626 to 527,000, almost 528,000. Same week last year, we had a much smaller gain, about 4,000 plus, 552,000 plus to 556, almost 557,000. The inventory bottom in 22 was 240,000. The inventory peak is right now for this year, 527,938, well off of the 1.2 million that we were at for same week in 2015. But we're getting to start closing the gap here on inventory. It's like it's happening. I said a few weeks ago, could this happen where we actually get even instead of negative on active listings at some point in this quarter? I really think it could. I really actually think it will. Main reason being the unaffordability, the buyer pool, the demand is not shrinking. Okay, we have pent up demand. People want to buy homes, but the buyer pool is shrinking based on just who can afford these homes. The longer we sit at 7.5, and prices have yet to come off near peak or at or above peak in many other markets. Okay, that's just the reality of where we're at still today. Now, another interesting measurement that we're going to start looking at every single Monday, I think we're going to see more of this, would be price decreases. Okay, I think we're going to see more of this coming into the fall and winter markets. Okay, so 2021, this time we were at 28%. Last year, 41%. This year, 37%. So we are actually doing better than where we were at this point last year. You can see last year kind of, topped off shortly after this week, and then started to decline down. Those price reductions started to go away as we went into 2023, which led off the year in the low sixes on the 30-year fix. I don't think we're going to be leading off 2024 in that range, just my personal outlook. So you could see decreases go a little bit longer run here towards the back half of the year, towards the back end of the year, rather, and even into the beginning of the year, as we typically would see seasonality of November, December having lower prices. So price decreases at 37%, not to where we're at last year, but still an increasing number and a higher number than we've seen at any point going back to 2015 for this time of year. Okay, second highest point when you take out last year on price decreases. What are you seeing in your market? Are you seeing more price decreases in your market right now? Love to know what you're experiencing there. All right. Most consumers right now would support more inventory. They want to see more building and more opportunities for friends and family members to actually be able to achieve home ownership. There's a caveat to that. They don't want it happening in their neighborhoods. Okay. New Redfin survey. This is on nowbam.com. You can check out everything right there. Shows more than 3/4 of respondents, 78%, in fact, support policies that promote new construction. But only about a third, 32% of those, would feel positive about having a large apartment complex, that is, built in their neighborhood. Okay, so there's a couple different sides to this. You hear this, it's like the David Chappelle town hall thing that he went to, and he's going crazy about people building right, literally, I guess, in in his eyesight or in his quote unquote backyard. Didn't want low income housing coming into an expensive neighborhood that he was in. It was a town hall that went viral in the past. You can Google it. So there's a lot of debate on this, where building large apartment complexes or affordable housing in the suburbs gets a lot of pushback, and a lot of times we don't get this level of building because of the zoning restrictions. And there's a debate on whether we should start to change some of those zonings. And I would even go a step further on debating the fact that we should actually incentivize developers with some breaks on some of the regulatory costs, some of the time that it takes to get development off of the ground. I was just with one of our BAM members at BAM camp last week, and her husband are starting a development that it's taken them 2 years to just get to the point of being able to start. It's a very long process. It's an expensive process. And oftentimes you're holding, debt on that land for those 2 or even 3 years while you're going through the development process. Who do you think those expenses get passed on to? It's why builders are leaning above the median price point for homes in America for the average price that they're building right now. Now they're in control because they're cutting down that 30-year fixed and able to make a desirable mortgage payment for somebody, but the values are much higher than all other homes. And we're not able to build affordable homes because of these regulations up front on the builders. If we make those easier, we're probably going to be able to, have a quid pro quo, if you will. Hey, we'll do this for you from a regulatory standpoint, from a government standpoint. If you go and build homes, let's make a deal, let's make a contract and make this happen. We're not seeing that happen. One of the reasons is that people just literally don't want affordable housing or apartment complexes built in their neighborhood. Now, I would agree with the apartment complex one. I don't want a big apartment complex going up right next to my home if I own a home in the suburbs. Why? Because it doesn't help anybody become a homeowner. It helps that landlord become more wealthy. All right. I want to see affordable housing, nice affordable housing that fits into the community. There's a way to do it. There's a way if we think outside the box. There's a way if we help from obviously the regulatory side of things to make it all work. But here's how your consumers feel. Okay, almost 4 out of 5 respondents support policies that would promote new construction. Just 1/3 of those feel positive about new apartment complex being added to their neighborhood, and 1 in 5 would actually feel negative about it. Nearly half of those would feel neutral. Okay, so these are all going to be available, obviously, easy for you to download for BAMX members. After identifying those who supported pro-building policies, the survey asked the 78% 2 follow-up questions. How would you feel if a new apartment complex were built in your neighborhood? And how would you feel if that new large apartment complex in your neighborhood was specifically built for low-income housing? Okay. We keep talking about apartment complexes, and everybody thinks that's the way to solve affordability. It is one way for people to get a Band-Aid fix on affordability and a low income payment or, a low monthly payment going forward, but it's not a way to help people actually have a wealth builder. Renters are 44 times less wealthy than homeowners. Nearly 3/4 of homeowners support pro-building policies compared to 80% of renters. 1/4 of homeowners would feel positive about a new apartment complex added to their neighborhood, which is comparable to the 28% of renters who gave the same response. Interesting. I think renters maybe even be higher. Hey, I get a new apartment complex in my neighborhood. I can go maybe get a lower rent, which is what you're going to see happen in Nashville and places like Tampa here as a lot of this pent-up inventory comes available. 2 in 5, 40% homeowners feel negative about a new apartment complex in their neighborhood, while a little more than 1/3 would feel neutral. By contrast, just under 1/4, 24% of renters would feel negative about a new apartment complex built nearby, and almost half, 49% would feel neutral. As of 2021, the U.S. had an estimated shortfall, 3.8 million housing units. You see that number higher sometimes, in some cases 7 million, in some cases lower at 2 million. Both buying and renting a home costs more than 2023 than it ever has. Home prices keep rising, and that's just kind of where we're at. Policies that promote new construction include loosening zoning restrictions. Okay, we hit that one. Allowing accessory dwelling units, these ADUs, providing tax incentives to encourage developers to build. We've got to see all of that kind of happen. You're not seeing either side, of the aisle here do anything about it either. Okay, when you get into politics and when you break down responses to this survey, really everybody's in alignment here. 75% of Republicans, 80% of Democrats. Only a minority of respondents on both sides of the aisle will feel positive about a new complex in their neighborhood. Okay, 24% for Republicans, 34% for Democrats. More Republican and Democrat respondents would feel negative about a large apartment complex in their neighborhood. 37% versus 23%. Roughly 2 in 5 on both sides would feel neutral. So basically 40 and 43% there. Yet, so it's like, okay, outside of that one 37 to 23, there was a lot of alignment there on feelings. And there's no alignment or no alignment, really, no bipartisan alignment or even like care to go out and try something from the government. It's not really, being proposed. Nobody's taking any action on it. It's just a crazy scenario that DC just kind of glazes over. Okay, it's like the Fed. It's like Jerome Powell, I talked about last week. They just don't even care what the home prices cost. They don't care if more people end up becoming renters as long as they get to the 2% inflation. There's that chart there. You're going to be able to download that if you're a BAMX member. Use code HOT to get 10% off. If you're not, let's flip over into home flipping. Flipping activity drops as profits rise across the U.S. in the second quarter of 2023. Are you seeing house flipping drop in your community? Love to know if that's what you're experiencing right now. Adam says that activity is dropping even as the profits rise. Okay. So the home values going up have helped home flippers who took the risk get increased profits, but activity overall is heading down. Okay. I think it's very risky right now. If a home flipper comes to you and says, hey, I got to buy a couple deals. I think right now, especially if they're taking out debt, a lot of times they're using hard money, and we're at a 7.5% on the 30-year fix. They're going to be maybe even as high as 12 or 14 on hard money. You were hearing 8 to 12 when on hard money when rates were down to 3%. Okay, so I can't even imagine what the hard money is right now. If you've got a recent in the last 30-day hard money quote for yourself or for one of your investors, put it into the comments. I'd love to know. I haven't looked at hard money in quite some time, but I'd love to know what you're hearing in the comments. A leading curator of land, property, and real estate data is ATTOM, released this second quarter 2023 U.S. home flipping report showing that 84,350, okay, so almost just over 84,000 single-family homes and condos in the U.S. were flipped in the second quarter. Okay, that's not a small number. The transactions represented 8%, or 1 out of every 13 home sales in quarter two. Okay, so home flippers making up 8% of the inventory in quarter two, 8% of the sales anyways, during the months running from April through June of 2023. The latest portion was down from 9.9%, though, of all home sales in the nation during the first quarter, and 8.9% for the second quarter of last year. So home flips, what we're at, 1 out of 10 homes in the first quarter are down. Despite the flipping rate remaining historically high, it dropped to nearly its lowest point since 2021. So this is a historically high market here for home flippers. I think getting into a dangerously risky time right now as we kind of look forward into the beginning of 2024 and end of 2023, and we have a very uncertain market. All right, aside from Atlanta, which was the largest home flipping market, the largest flipping rates among metro areas with a population of more than 1 million were Memphis, Jacksonville, Cincinnati, and Phoenix. The smallest home flipping rates among metro areas analyzed in the second quarter were Seattle, Santa Rosa, San Jose, San Francisco, and Hilo. And so this is Hilo, Hawaii. So that makes sense, right? These really expensive home flipping or these really expensive metros are going to see less homes flipped. The median $308,000 resale price of home flipped nationwide in the second quarter of 23 generated a gross profit of $66,500, above the median investor purchase price of $242,000. That resulted in a typical 27.5% profit margin in the second quarter of 2023, up from the first quarter, but still far beneath the 44.6% level in the second quarter of 2022 and 60.8% same period of 2021. If you're going to flip or advise somebody to flip in this market, you better know your numbers inside and out. You better know what the competition is on a similar renovated property. How many of those opportunities come onto the market? What are they still selling through at? What percent of list price are they getting? If they're leaning closer to 95% in your market, it's probably a yellow flag. What's it going to be in 3 or 4 months? Okay. And by the way, you hear this is a flag for inexperienced flippers. Oh, I think I can do this project in 2 months. Well, it's either going to be really crappy work or you don't know what you're talking about in today's construction environment. Unless you have a big crew and you're talking about doing 20 homes, a month, and you've got almost a national home builder solution for your local community of house flipping. A lot of crews that can come in and out. Any home flipper that says right now they're going to do the deal in 2 months has no idea what they're talking about. If they're going to subcontract this work out, it's going to take longer than 2 months in terms of delays and labor delays. Things are taking longer in the experience that I have and folks that I'm talking to right now than they historically have. So, okay, you did a flip 3 years ago and it took you this amount of time. Doesn't matter today. Also, the cost of materials and the access to materials are pushing those numbers up. You see a lot of times that if you're going to do a full renovation of a property, you're talking about 6 months. Okay, so make sure that the education is there, not only for yourself as an advisor in this market, or if you're an investor, but for your investors going into the market before they make a decision that could cripple them. Because right now, these profit trends, while still the profits were good, they are on a decline right now. So this is a great chart. It'll be available in the daily download today on BAMX for BAMX members. This is a great one to grab and send to that investor. Hey, we got to be careful when we're going out here and trying to access a flip right now. The trend right now is that our ROI is going down. Okay, it's still there. We can still make money. There's no question about it, but it's heading down, and it's been heading down here over the last couple of years. Okay, there you go on the house flipping average days to flip here. To my point, it's people that think they're doing it in 60 days. Take a look at this chart. Average days to flip 178. What did I say? 6 months. Yeah, there you go. 6 months is exactly what they're saying here. I just can't stand these inexperienced investors. They're like, I don't know, I think it'll take me 60, 90 days. I was just having a conversation with an agent. They want to do a whole renovation of units, and they're like, I think we can get this done in 3 months. No, you can't. You just cannot. And they need an architect to do the work on that project. They want to wrap that into the 3 to 6 months. It's like, no, it's not going to happen. They're going to be 9 to 12 months out on that deal. Resetting expectations of timelines and the money goes in, because the longer it takes to flip the deal, if you're estimating 3 months and it's 178 months or 178 days rather, you think it's going to be 90 days, it's 180 days. Well, you're carrying the debt for another, 90 days, and then you're carrying it for another 45 days after that for the property to sell through. You got to factor in carrying costs on these projects. So just like we were talking earlier about the carrying costs for developers, which is what's pushing up prices of new construction, it's also what pushes up prices on these flips. Okay, and I know flips not the same as new construction, because there is a max that they're going to be able to ask, but these carrying costs push up or push down the profits, which is what you've seen the last couple of years on home flips. All right, what we keep seeing the last couple of days is a 10-year treasury that just keeps going wild. Now, we showed this chart here last week when, for the first time Thursday night going into Friday morning, for the first time since 2007, the 10-year U.S. yield hit 4.5. 4.5 is a key number because it's the average going back to 1790. Okay. You can see here going back to 1790, just a little bit of data when we're talking about 1790. We're talking about like the age of our country right now. Okay. So as long as the U.S. has existed, every time we hit 4.5 on the 10-year U.S. yield, we not only hit it, but we stay above it for most of the time, long periods of time. Okay, just that one in the early, like the 1920s, it was only, a few years. Every other time it's been long periods of time. So to say that we've hit 4.5 now and we're not going to stay above it for longer than we'd all like, would be foolish just based on historical data. We don't know what is going to happen, but we can look at what has happened and make a pretty good assumption. And this data goes back to 1790. All right. So the 10-year Treasury yield rose again last night into the margin to start the week, which has pushed trades near levels not seen since 2007. U.S. Treasury yields were higher Monday as investors considered what could be next for interest rates and awaited fresh economic data due this week. The 10-year rose by more than 6 basis points to 4.509. It's higher right now. I'll show you that in a second. The 10-year yield hit a high seen Friday when it traded near levels last seen since 2007 when it climbed as high as 4.57. Okay, so when we say trades near levels not seen since 2007, the market is trading. Investors are reacting to the market, the stock market right now, and these treasury yields, as if they see a hard landing above, not a soft landing. I know we keep saying, hey, Powell and the Fed, that they see a soft landing, but the reactions right now are not supporting, the reactions to the market, rather, are not supporting a soft landing being a slam dunk. Okay, so taking a look at where the 10-year is right now, we're sitting at 4.511. We're taking a look out on the last 1 month. This has been a sky. We actually 30 days ago were above or below 4.2. It's a decent place to be. We're not there anymore. And last week we ended on the 30-year fix at 7.39. We could certainly see this number get back up to the peak of 7.49 range that we had earlier this year. Of course, Thursday, we almost touched that at 7.47. All right. There's your news today. If you're looking for something to do today in the next 3 and you're on the West Coast and you haven't made the decision yet to get over to FubCon, do it. It's starting today. Literally, it's the next 3 days, September 25th through the 28th. Really, it actually ends on Thursday. It's like more than 3 days. Awesome conference. Eric, I think, is going to be putting around there one of the days this week. The Broke Agent. You can get 30% off a ticket using code BAM_VIP30. That code is down below, as well as the link. You get 55% off your second ticket. I'm on their site now, and I just keep seeing little notifications. So-and-so bought a ticket. So there's people buying last-minute tickets. It's a wild event, huge party, I think, at the end, as well as 6 keynote speakers. So get over to FubCon, Follow Up Boss, presenting in LA here this week if you're looking for an opportunity to better yourself. All right, there's your hot sheet for today. Appreciate all of you guys. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 9:30 on the East, 6:30 on the West. Until then, toodaloo.